Humphrey Nwosu, the ultimate June 12 Nigerian democracy hero. Humphrey Nwosu was born on June 1, 1943, in Agwata, a town in Anambra State, southeastern Nigeria. He had a rich academic background and was well educated both in Nigeria and abroad. Nwosu attended the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, where he earned a bachelor's degree in political science. He later went on to pursue graduate studies in the United States, where he obtained a master's degree and eventually a PhD in political science. Before his involvement in politics, Nwosu was a respected academic with published academic works. He was a lecturer at the University of Nigeria, and his academic focus was on political science, governance, and electoral processes. His academic prowess and understanding of the political landscape made him an ideal candidate for roles related to elections and governance in Nigeria. Nwosu's most significant contribution to Nigeria as democracy came in his capacity as chairman of the National Electoral Commission of Nigeria, a role he held from 1989 to 1993. During this period, Nwosu became a key figure in the administration of elections in the country, a role that would bring him both prominence and controversy. Under Nwosu's leadership, the National Electoral Commission oversaw what the Lagos press would dub Nigeria's most free and fair election in its history, the 1993 presidential election. The election saw the Social Democratic Party and the National Republican Convention fielding candidates. The SDP candidate, Mashood Abiola, was widely favored, while the NRC's candidate was Bashir Tofa. Abiola's victory in the election was seen as a historic step for Nigerian democracy. Given his broad appeal among Nigeria's diverse ethnic and religious groups, Babagana Kingibe was Abiola's running mate, while Sylvester Ugo, former central bank governor in the defunct Biafra Republic, was Tofa's running mate. The election, which was scheduled to be held on Saturday, June 12, 1993, was nearly cancelled following a court order by Justice Basi Ikpim of Lagos, ordering a postponement. This court order was clearly obtained by some elements within the Nigeria ruling military council, who were not prepared to hand over power to civilians. In an emergency Security Council meeting that was held on that Friday night, Nwosu insisted that he had enough powers to go ahead with the election despite the court order. The election was cleared by the military to go ahead on schedule. But Nigerians who turned out en masse on Saturday were unaware by efforts by the military to stay in power. The election was peaceful, but while men sleep, the devil keeps abroad. In the days following June 12, Humphrey Nwosu came under intense pressure from the military to stop collating results. Citing the previous court, Nwosu responded by releasing partial results, which showed the candidate of Social Democratic Party, SDP, MKO, Abiola, as leading. Sometime between June 15 to 16, Professor Nwosu was arrested by Brigadier General Halalu Akilu, who allegedly brutalized him and kept him hostage. Professor Nwosu subsequently announced the suspension of all result collations. On June 23, 1993, General Ibrahim Babangida, the then military leader of Nigeria, annulled the election results. On June 12, 1993, the annulment was met with outrage both within Nigeria and abroad, especially in southwestern region of Nigeria where the alleged winner of the election hailed from. Anti-northern sentiment ran rampant in Lagos because the military government was dominated by northern officers. The hotbed for the June 12 struggle was in Lagos, where the struggle quickly took a tribal bent, and there was anger amongst Yoruba intellectuals regarding Nwosu's silence after the annulment. Many there wanted Nwosu to martyr himself for June 12 and considered him a traitor for keeping silent. But it is always unfair to demand ultimate sacrifice from a career civil servant. It will be like treating Brigadier General Samuel Ogundipe as a traitor for not insisting on taking over as Nigeria's head of state. In July 1966, as the most senior officer in the Nigeria Army following the coup that removed General Agui Inc from power, Professor Nwosu decided to stay quiet during the June 12 struggle to restore democratic rule. In the aftermath of there were widespread calls for the restoration of the people's mandate and for the actualization of the June 12 election results. Nwosu, who had served as the face of the election process, became a symbol of democratic struggle. Humphrey Nwosu's role in the electoral process was a pivotal moment in Nigerian history, as his leadership during the 1993 elections helped lay the groundwork for the eventual return to democracy in Nigeria. His role in organizing the election and overseeing a relatively fair process stands in contrast to the subsequent military-backed annulment and the instability that followed. After the annulment of the 1993 election, Nwosu largely withdrew from the limelight, but his work continued to be significant in the context of Nigerian politics. He has been involved in various advocacy efforts aimed at improving the electoral system and has been a strong advocate for electoral reforms and the deepening of democracy in Nigeria. Nwosu's legacy remains tied to his contributions to Nigerian democracy, particularly the landmark 1993 elections, which are still seen as a key moment in the nation's political development. His role in the election is remembered by many as one of the most transparent electoral processes in Nigeria's history, even though it was ultimately marred by the military's decision to annul the election results. Nwosu died in Virginia, United States, on the 20th of October 2024, at the age of 83. June 12 elections marked the beginning of a movement that eventually led to the establishment of a democratic government in Nigeria in 1999. When Olusegun Obasanjo became president, Nwosu's legacy as a defender of democracy and electoral integrity endures, and he continues to be seen as one of the key figures in the struggle for democratic governance in Nigeria. Final results. Mashood Abiola was projected to have won by a significant margin, securing 58% of the vote. Total votes, over 8.3 million votes. Bashir Tofa was the candidate for the National Republican Convention. The other major party, Tofa, was projected to have received 39% of the vote. Total votes, over 5.5 million votes.